So the college asked me to be a part of the inauguration of the president, and in the tradition of that, there's usually an artwork made, and there's sometimes a poem that is composed, and a piece of musical composition. And since I'm the senior member of the art department, I was asked if I would be willing to do that. And I was quite actually interested in doing that, and I set up a meeting with the president. I wanted to get a sense of what kind of art was important to him, what he was interested in, and have the work in some way reflect that. Our conversation went different directions. We talked about authors that were interesting, that we actually had mutual appreciation for. And it became clear to me that one of the most important art forms to the president was music, in particular jazz music, being a New Orleans man that he is. So we talked some about what it was about jazz that he appreciated, and that became the kind of principal motif. I asked him also what color would be most interesting to you, and he, of course, he said purple, which, you know, with purple and gold, that was a little bit too easy. So I set about trying to create a picture, a painting, that I thought would explore that. And for me, that had to be abstract painting, which is one of the ways in which I tend to work. I wanted to place at the center of the composition something that would reference the history of Houghton. And so I found in the archive the folk wooden hand that used to sit atop the steeple in the old Houghton church back in the canal days. And it's one of the only original relics we have from the original Houghton days. And so I decided to put that at the center of the picture, and then to incorporate throughout the painting other references to the campus, arches that you see in the church windows or in the bell tower of Fancher Hall, and somewhat abstract but important symbols that represented the liberal arts. To me, jazz music was an interesting idea because abstract painting is, like jazz, quite improvisational. In particular, you have this sense in which the audience helps create the jazz experience, the moment, the performance. And painting is like that. So you get that free mark, as Jackson Pollock said, and after that, every mark is a response to that mark. I like the idea of the improvisational element because I think liberal arts is itself a kind of improvisation. Students study, they learn about a lot of different things. They're not just preparing for a career, they're preparing for life. And one has to be able to be flexible, to be resourceful, to use critical thinking, to use imagination, to use an ability to elucidate truth and figure out how to persuade and be persuaded. So I like this element. In classical music, they often refer to that as extemporize, to sort of make things up. The composer would even put that in the composition. So to me, I think it's a good metaphor within the painting. I called the painting Strangely Warmed, which is a reference to John Wesley's altar gate experience, in which he talked about the feeling of the Holy Spirit coming over him. And again, I think it's about the emotional truth that is embedded within our experiences. Wesley was convinced at that moment that something transformational had happened to him. And again, I think that's what we want with an education. The painting is framed with the original materials that were once the bleachers in the gymnasium. Once they disassembled them, I asked to use them, and so I incorporated that into the frame and have this sort of syncopated pattern that goes around the picture. If you look closely at the painting, you'll see lots of references to the various departments and majors and the things that are not specifically narrative, but they're more symbolically embedded, ways in which we think, ways in which we imagine, intuitive as well as heuristic and algorithmic kind of problem solving. So the painting is a sort of celebration of these things, and I hope that appropriate tribute to President Lewis.